Here's one from Mando's channel, right? It's a commutation hearing, which is to look at reducing the time spent inside so as someone inside can get out. And this one, as Mando would say, is a cockroach, as they all are. But this one is a good example of showing you one of them that's a full-blown sicko that's acting like he's not. This thing has been attacking kids for a while before he got caught, and the victim at the time was a young girl who had special needs, which for these things is one of the main targets, as they know that someone with a disability is easier to attack and less likely to be believed or even understood. So this thing is a level 3 sex offender who is a massive threat to the community. He's a thing that is constantly thinking sick thoughts towards children. And that's what makes this hearing interesting, because this cockroach comes across as saying and doing all of the right things that a parole board would want to hear, that he's not a level 3 but just a regular guy who made a mistake. And it's impressive, you know, to a point. And if you didn't have the court reports, plea deal, and most importantly, the victim's now, the victim's family speaking up, then you could be persuaded to think that what he is saying could almost sound like the truth. And that is why I give it up to the mana of the victims that don't leave it up to someone else to deal with, but stand tall and go on the attack, and in doing so, keep the rest of us, and especially our kids, safer. Now, let's go watch a level 3 try to put a red into a hearing.
All right, Mr. Douglas Hume, DOC numbers 535184. You're seeking commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in Livingston Parish, February 2008, to 25 years for a conviction for oral sexual battery. You do have a full term date, which is in 2031. Mr. Hume, is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Mr. Hume, my name is Tony Marabella. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll begin the interview process. Mr. Hume, how old are you today?
I am 49 years old.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
Just over 16 years.
You've done a lot of educational work, as I've seen. Now, you've taken a couple of programs. You took the 4 phases of sex offender treatment.
Yes, sir.
What other programs did you take?
As I said, I have taken the faith-based training community, and I believe I have a lot of certificates from that. We had a lot of.
I do understand that. I'm talking about other programs like Cage Your Rage. I think you took that. Did you take any other programs along the lines of any sort of victim awareness or anything like that?
Just through faith-based.
Tell me what prompted you to do the crime back then. What have you been able to inwardly understand why you committed this crime?
Plain selfishness, sir. It was, I was put my feelings above everybody.
Well, talk to me about your feelings. What are your feelings? I mean, it's unnatural for someone to want to molest young children. So tell me what you say you were selfish. Being selfish is one thing, but what have you learned about yourself that will convince me that you might not do something like this again?
Because I've learned that it's not the right way to approach somebody. It is not the right way to earn somebody's trust in order to live within a society where there is decent law and order.
Well, I understand that. That's good book learning. I mean, I think we all know in civics, you shouldn't violate the law.
Yes, sir.
My question to you is, you obviously had some emotional, personal issues that caused you to do what you did.
Yes, sir.
And I've got reason to believe this was not the first time that something like that happened. So my question to you is, what have you done looking inward to prevent that from the future? I mean, you tell me you're selfish, well, okay, but you know, how can I be comfortable saying, I'm going to let this man out again, and this may very well happen again?
Because I took responsibility for everything that I've done.
I accept that.
When I was arrested, I voluntarily gave a full confession. I knew at the time I needed to change. I needed to change. And I spent the last 16 years rebuilding myself and my life in order to become a more productive citizen and not let this happen again.
Tell me how this even came about. Tell me what happened.
Basically, we were sitting around and things led to me putting my mouth on her vagina.
This little girl had special needs. I mean, she had some very serious issues,
did.
medically and emotionally.
She did, and I took advantage of that. I took advantage of a special needs girl, very, very special in not just special needs, but she was a very precious little girl, and I took advantage of that. I accept that.
When did you first start having feelings towards young children? Sexual feelings towards young children?
I really hadn't until that time. I don't know how to describe that to you. It just, one thing led to another, and next thing I knew, I was doing something I can't believe I actually did.
You did this more than once, didn't you?
No, sir, I did not.
You didn't?
No, sir. This is the
At least
only.
2 occasions that you did. Maybe you didn't do everything you did the last time. You're telling me this was only on one occasion?
Yes, sir.
The charge originally was, I hear you, Mr. Hume, and I if I could count, I probably will count 1,000 times you've said me or I, what you've done for you. What you did was horrible. You were charged with aggravated rape. You say, oh, I took responsibility for it. They reduced those charges so you could get a deal. I mean, I don't find your acceptance of responsibility convincing me you'll never do this again. I'm very concerned about that. What do you say to that?
I would say, sir, that I understand. I accept what you believe from this, but what I have learned in prison, it's hard for me to convince you, for you to know what I've done the last 16 years.
I understand that. I accept that because I don't know you at all. First time I've laid eyes on you. Read your file a week ago. But your family knows you, and they all oppose your getting out because they're afraid you're going to do this again. Why would they feel that way?
I don't know, sir. I don't know. I pretty much have lost contact with my family. I have in contact with my mother very, very rarely. Nobody else. I have not talked to any other member of my family in 16 years.
Where would you live wherever if you were to get out early?
I'm sorry?
Where would you live if you were able to get out early?
I have friends and family in Texas who are waiting for me, sir.
Who is that?
I have a distant cousin by the name of Shirlene Weller, who I discovered, and I have 2 businesses that I actually have the business plans for right here that I would be doing. I have angel investors ready to go.
Mr. Hume, I'm going to say it again, and then I'm going to let my colleagues, and I'll listen what anyone else has to say. All I'm hearing is you. Work, faith-based. I don't see you dealing with the issue that I see that you have. So I'm going to, that's all the questions I have. Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Hume?
Yes, sir. Only thing I have to say really and truly is that obviously we can have to see his disciplinary record is pretty exceptional. But he and I spoke on last week, and my main concern is that whether he continue being incarcerated or in the civilian world, he's going to need extensive help. That's my opinion.
If there was a feeling among your family members that you had always had an interest in younger children to the extent that it made them feel uncomfortable, how would you respond to that?
It was never brought up to me, ma'am. It's hard for me to answer that question because it was never presented to me.
Well, even if they never said it, Mr. Hume, the question is, have you, from an early age, earlier than when this offense occurred, been attracted to children sexually?
I haven't. Like I said, said before, I have not. This was something that went too far, and I made a terrible mistake.
But see, you kind of want to yada over it. I mean, going too far. I mean, why did it even start to begin with? Get to the point of being too far. There had to be some. I'm just listening to you, Mr. Hume, and I heard what the warden said. And it does seem like there are a lot of issues that you just haven't dealt with. You tried to cover them up by, being involved in programs and doing things in and around the prison. But I worry that you haven't really recognized the depth of your problem. And you're a young man, and I'm uncomfortable with where you are right now, thinking that you're not going to find yourself in this situation again, because I don't think that you have really dealt with what is it in you that caused you to have this proclivity towards young children. I just think there's a lot there you need to work on, because you haven't really done the painful work that it's going to take to make sure that this is behind you. Thank you. I appreciate your talking to me.
Right, we have some folks who are here with us in Baton Rouge that want to speak. Ms. Angela Harvey.
I am Brittany's mother. He is special needs. He was originally charged with aggravated rape, and the only way we could get aggravated rape was to give him a life sentence. And I had to put my daughter on the stand in order to do that. And I, as her mother, could not do that to her. But I got a life sentence, and I've served every day that he has served inside the walls, and I will serve every day beyond his 25 years. He took and tore my family apart, and I can tell you why. He has no contact with his family, because I talked to his mother after he was arrested. His mother and his aunt were molested as children, and they live with the same thing I'm living with every day. And they could not believe what their son had done and the nightmares that they still live with. So that's why they isolated from him. And then they started talking to members of their family. And all of a sudden, naps came up with his nieces and stuff that he wanted to go lay down with. So his whole family here turned against him because of that. So Brittany was not his first victim. Brittany was the first one that was caught. And I knew after the first time he was with her, but I could not get my daughter to admit it. Brittany, you have to ask her very specific. He will do this again if he gets out, and another mother will be in my shoes serving a life sentence because he will not stop. He is sick. I live with this every day, as well as my child, but I have protected her as much as I can. And I don't let her know what all goes on. She doesn't even know about today because she still has nightmares over it. Please don't let him out. Another mother should not have to go through what I am. Thank you.
Norma, did you want to speak?
Barbie's grandmother. She's my first-born grandchild. She has special with her son, another child that's loving, sweet, and giving his child needs. And her mom found out said she was dialing for the police. She starts crying, please don't do anything to Mr. Doug. Please don't hurt him. That's the type of child she is. We went through counseling. She had to go through a rape kit. To this day, they cannot do a female exam on that child because she goes into hysterics. He has scarred my grandchild for life. He agreed. And like we said, the only reason he's not in prison for life is because we could not put her on the stand. Counselors advised us against her going on the stand. And so we agreed to 25 years without one day off for good behavior. The district attorney told me in this type of case, they do not get any off.
Mr. Hume, is there a statement you'd like to make to the board before we vote?
At this point, ma'am, I think I pretty much know how this is gonna go. All I can say is, I can't tell you how sorry I am. They have every right to feel the way they do. And they have every responsibility to keep me incarcerated at this point, I think. I can already tell that's pretty much the way this is gonna go. But I can't tell you, and it's hard to really describe exactly the remorse I feel from the camera. I'm so sorry to the Hardy family. I'm so sorry to mine for taking things out of context that weren't meant for it. If that is the way they feel, that is the way they feel. I cannot change it. So at this point, I just leave the decision to you.
Well, we're ready to vote. Mr. Marabella will be voting first.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Hume, you've done well while you've been in prison. You've worked hard. You've got structure. Your disciplinary record is good. You've taken a lot of education courses. But there are a lot of things that you haven't done. Those are looking inwardly as to who you are and why you are. And I think the warden said it. You're going to need a lot of help. And you're in a place right now where you can get it. I think that you need to take some programs that you can begin to look inwardly and make a determination as to what it is inside you that caused you to do these things. And until you get to that point, I don't think you're ever going to appreciate and realize what you've done and who you are. Based upon the offense itself, comments from the warden, the opposition, both law enforcement as well as the victims, as well as your own family. My vote today would be to deny your request for a pardon.
Mr. Freeman.
You're definitely not ready for release, and my vote is to deny.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Hume, I do have concerns because I don't think you really come to terms with what is it in you you need to get fixed so that you're not a risk. I'll just encourage you to do some more introspection, maybe taking victim awareness, but really you've got to look at yourself and figure out, what has happened to you in your life. But I don't think you're ready. I'm going to encourage you to keep trying to get to the root of why you did what you did. But my vote today is to deny because the victim opposition, the continuing harm to the victim. And I just think you need some more work. Good luck to you, Mr. Hume.
Russian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Hume, good morning.
Good morning.
Based upon overwhelming opposition from the DA's office, who prosecuted this case, adamant opposition from the victim's family, opposition from your family, and I think that you are a potential risk to your family and the general public. Our vote is to deny your request.
All right, Mr. Hume. I do concur with my colleagues. I think you have some more work to do. You do have an outdate. but you've got a lot of work to do in the meantime. My vote today is to deny your application. I wish you well. Good luck, sir.
What are you going to do when he gets out, huh? What are we going to do? That thing, that cockroach, that monster that is going to get out in 9 years. Let's give a big pat on the back to his family for not supporting him. It is nice and refreshing to see that. The amount of damage and chaos that thing has created in this world, we only saw the tip of the iceberg.
And like the Titanic, I fucking hate icebergs. So make sure you pop across and check out Mandu's channel and say hey to Sir Richard when you're over there. For those boys, they're like us, the scientists and the alchemists. You know, the ones that find ways of burning icebergs. Stay safe, all of you. And see all you guys next episode.